You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you and your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks. Well, happy Thursday. This is the Jenn and Rick Show right here on KLNRradio.com. I'm Rick. She's Jen, and we have lots of stuff to talk about tonight. So I'm going to turn the mic over to my host for a second. Let her say good evening, all that fun stuff, and then I guess we'll just kind of dive right into it. Sorry if I seem a little more unnerved than usual, but this whole police violence thing is actually even finally starting to touch my own state, and it's been a little tense around here. Not as bad as anywhere near Charlotte, but it's got some people on edge because there was a recent shooting here in Tulsa that nobody can really make sense of because, you know, at least in Charlotte we didn't eventually find out that the guy that was shot and killed had a gun. In Tulsa, it seems like a completely different scenario, and they've actually brought charges against the officer, but we're going to talk about that in more detail here in a bit. But that's going to be kind of like what the whole show's pretty much going to be about, is the craziness going on all over the place with the police protests again, the police shooting people, the people trying to shoot at people, people trying to give people hugs and being called names. It's just craziness everywhere. So, how are you?
Doing okay. I'm hanging on for another day, I guess. But it has been ugly in the real world, and it's been ugly on Twitter lately with all of this mess going on.
Well, you know, can I just say something? And this is what I'm just going to say. Look, if you think this sounds like a cranky old racist white guy, then you call me whatever you want. I have a question, though. So they keep talking about all these protests in Charlotte, and now they keep calling them protests, and they're like blocking overpasses and highways and breaking into stores and trying to drag reporters into fires, etc. When do we decide that a protest is no longer a peaceful protest and actually have the police do something about it?
Well, here's what I was trying to point out to several people earlier, and unfortunately no one's getting my replies today because either Twitter is just really screwed up and I'm like on the losing end, or I'm shadow banned, but I'm not showing up in mentions, so no one's seeing when I tweet them. But you know, people were saying like, you can't tell black people how to protest, or you can't blah blah blah, you can't, or it's not for you to decide, you know, how they express their anger, and you can protest with, you know, rioting, violent. No. Protest is a statement or action expressing disapproval of or objection to something, typically a written declaration or march. A riot's definition is a violent disturbance of the peace by a crowd. So what do you think last night was?
Sounds more like a riot by definition.
Right. And I mean, you know, obviously there were people that were actually just protesting. And I think that that's kind of always how these things start. You know, there are people with good intentions, but no, I mean, it turned on to a full-fledged riot. When you've got someone shot, you've got multiple police officers injured for the second night in a row, businesses vandalized, looted, property damaged, and otherwise people in the area feeling very unsafe to even go outside, then that's a violent mob and a riot. That's no longer a protest. It doesn't fall into that category.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up, because one of the tweets that I saw today that I was just kind of looking at it and I was scratching my head was someone who I guess was firmly in the pro-Hillary camp talking about how, and this was their exact words, a judge was focusing on the violence of the riot, not the peaceful protests, or not the peaceful side of the riot. Or the judge was focusing on the violence and strife of the race riot, not the peaceful side of the race riot. So my reply to them, which again I'm not sure if I'm shadow banned or not either, because it seems like nobody's really been replying to too much that I've been saying today either, is how can something with the word riot in it, on its face, seem either in part or in whole to be peaceful at all? Because you just basically said what the definition of a riot was. Violence is inherent in the definition of a riot. So you can't really call a race riot peaceful. At least you shouldn't.
Right. And also, I would say to, of course, Drudge is focusing on this. Wait, who isn't focusing on that? How can you possibly be like, oh, guys, you know what? Just ignore the dozens of businesses that have been damaged and, robbed. Just ignore all of the people that have been hurt. Just really ignore the fires and trying to throw an unconscious photographer into a fire. Ignore the vehicles that they're stomping on. Ignore the fact that they're blocking roadways. Just focus on this small group of people over here holding up their signs and using their bullhorn that aren't doing anything wrong. That's crap. And you know what? No reporter and no news organization worth their salt would be doing anybody any favors by just covering that aspect of it. And I'd also like to flip it around. You know that I don't like Trump, but what do they cover? What does the leftist media cover at Trump rallies? What do they cover? The ugliest parts of them. That's what they cover. They try to exploit and overly, pronounce the showcase the bad seeds that throw something at someone, that spit at someone, that try to get people kicked out of there for being, whether it's because of their race or because they're liberal or because they're anti-Trump, whatever it is. And that is the entire story of that rally every time. So I just think they're all a bunch of hypocritical pieces of crap, pretty much. Of course, you're going to focus on the violence.
Well, because violence sells. Now, it is
the story. It is the story. This wouldn't really be a story otherwise. It would be a 2-minute piece to show on the news for a second saying, oh, and last night in Charlotte, there was a protest over da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Here are the details of the case that we know so far. There were no, incidences and da-da-da, and it would move right along. But that's not how it went. So the things that need to be reported on are the violent actions taken. That's it.
But the interesting thing is I'm starting to see a few things kind of peeking through the periphery. Stories that nobody's really talking about because we're so busy focused on the riots in Charlotte and now the shooting in Tulsa. Like one of the ones that has gotten almost zero playtime at all is the fact that there was a recent chemical weapons attack at a base in Iraq. And apparently, according to a couple of stories that I've seen, we may have inadvertently provided air cover for ISIS and accidentally bombed a humanitarian convoy, which would be really, really major stories if not for the fact that we had race riots going on in our home country again. I think what's starting to concern me about all of this is if you start to look, if you go back and you start putting together the timelines of all of the different racial situations, there are things that have been going on all around those dates that nobody's talking about because they're too busy focusing on the racial situations. I'm starting to, I really don't want to go tinfoil hat, but the more I watch this election cycle, the more I feel like I'm basically about ready to get fitted for my own personally custom-tailored tinfoil hat because it just seems like there are too many things happening that just cannot be coincidental. And that is one of those things. It seems like anytime there should be big stories about anything else possibly breaking it all, something goes sideways here and we're focusing on watching people loot stores. And that's one of the reasons why I keep asking, when are we actually going to remember that what these people are doing is against the law? Yes, it should be a news story, but it shouldn't be something that's been allowed to happen for now 3 days? This stuff should have been quelled a long time ago because the simple fact of the matter is, no matter what they're supposedly protesting against, they are now officially breaking the law. They have been now for days. It's against the law to block an interstate. Now, I'm going to say this, and somebody we know got in big trouble for saying something very, very similar, but if you are in that area and you're traveling on that interstate and you know it's going to be blocked or blockaded at some point along the route, find another way to go. But if you're stuck on there and you don't have any other options, then don't stop. I'm not telling you to aim for them, but don't stop because you can see them pulling people out of the cars and beating the death out of them right in front of you. And everybody's mad because, well, nobody should tell you to run through a line of protesters. Well, they're not protesting if they're pulling people out of a car and beating them half to death. That's not protesting anymore. So we need to start calling things what they are. These people are breaking the law. I understand that they're angry. I understand that they feel like they're getting subhuman treatment. And I understand in some very rare instances there may even be grounds for them to be upset. This does not appear to be one of those times, however. And how is trying to throw a reporter into a fire or pulling a white person out of a car and beating them half to death going to make the rest of the world understand just what your plight actually is? Because right now you guys are the ones that look like all the bullies that you keep trying to say the cops are supposed to be.
Right. I mean, I just don't even, I kind of talked about this in a private group we're in earlier, of my experience with law enforcement basically being told to stand down. And it's a yearly thing in Austin that they have to do it on a particular weekend. And I won't go into too many details about it. And it's a super touchy subject here in Austin. But essentially what's happening is what's happening there. They are told to just tolerate, ignore, diffuse situations that they normally would take action on, that they would normally arrest for, that they would normally press charges against somebody for. They withstand name calling, spitting, things being thrown. They witness vandalism. They witness fights break out, all of that kind of thing. And part of it is to, try to not fan the flames. And I think it's unfortunate that we're living in a world that that's the case, that we have to tippy-toe around a race of people that are behaving abhorrently. And it could be anybody. It really could be anybody. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter what color, where they were from, or what can be very frightening and very dangerous, should be treated under the rule of law the same as any other. And when like I said, I have this situation in Austin. If white frat boys were doing that, it would be a very different story. Actually ruined over it. And this particular weekend, everybody tippy-toes around. They're told to stand down. The officers are in full right gear. SWAT team is all around. But they have their hands tied. Quite literally, they are not allowed to do anything unless they are actually assaulted. And even then, they better have dang good reason and it better be witnessed. So that's kind of what you're seeing there. They're kind of getting a free pass, a free-for-all. We saw it in Ferguson, too. We've seen it in other places. And some of it's because they get overwhelmed, I think. It's dangerous and without backup.
Jen, are you having storms or something where you're at? Because it seems like your internet connection just keeps degrading.
Body in there. Body.
Well, folks, we appear to be having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure at this point if my co-host can even hear me any longer. And there she's gone again. All right, so I'm going to keep working on trying to get her back. While I'm doing that, though, oh, hang on. I think she's trying to call back in now. Or not. What just happened? All right, so anyway, I'm going to keep working on trying to get her back. While I'm doing that, though, I'm going to actually change gears a little bit and start talking about the incident in Tulsa. So I have a clip that we're going to play while I'm trying to work on getting her back. Sadly, you will still hear some of the background noise, but at least this way you guys can try to focus on the news story while I'm trying to get her situated again.
I want to take you now to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the district attorney is holding a press conference on the death of Terrence.
Hang on a second, folks. I think we may have her back.
Our community.
Maybe. Okay. Are you there?
I'm here. I don't know what is going on. It shows that I have, full everything. I am not having problems with anything else. So,
yeah, I'm not.
Whatever, Skype. All technology is messing with me today.
Skynet, yo, Skynet.
Anyways, sorry about that.
Well, I mean, it could just as much be on my side, but I don't think so, because everything that I'm seeing is looking fairly normal. I don't have anything pinging out. I don't have any yellows or reds anywhere on the board, so it's just every so often your connection goes red on me on Skype. And it's like, please hold while we try to reconnect the call. And then you'll talk again for about a second, and then you'll be gone again, and then you'll come back for about a second, and then you'll be gone again. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Somebody just please fix it.
I have no idea. Like, my internet service is, everything looks good. We'll just keep trying, and hopefully it lasts this time.
All right. So hopefully we don't lose you in the middle, but at this point I thought it would be a good time to go ahead and play the audio in regards to one of the other stories that we were going to talk about tonight, which is the whole Tulsa shooting. Got a little bit of a clip I wanted to try to get in before we went to the break, and then I figured we could talk about it when we get back.
Sounds good.
I want to take you now to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the district attorney is holding a press conference on the death of Terrence Crutcher. Let's listen in.
To our community, the importance of adherence to the rule of law and the ethical standards which allow our courtrooms to be the source of justice. The review of cases involving alleged criminal conduct is the responsibility of the Tulsa County District Attorney's Office. We review the facts of the allegations and apply the law to those allegations. It is our responsibility to determine if the filing of a criminal charge is justified under the law. In the matter of the death of Terrence Crutcher, I determined that the filing of the felony crime of manslaughter in the first degree against Tulsa police officer Betty Shelby is warranted. Officer Shelby, although now charged, is presumed to be innocent until a judge or a jury determines otherwise. I do not know why things happen in this world the way they do. We need to pray for wisdom and guidance on each of our respective paths in life. Each of us at the end of our days will have to account for our own actions. The only way I know how to walk my path is to try every day to pray and to serve my fellow citizen so that he or she may be lifted up. When I started this press conference at 3:30, I directed my staff to file a criminal charge of manslaughter in the first degree. You can go down to the second floor of the court clerk's office and obtain a copy of that criminal charge. There should be plenty of copies together with the affidavit. In addition to that, I have a press release, and I will leave that up here, and you can pick up a press release that summarizes much of the statements that I've just made. Attached to that press release will be the relevant applicable law in the state of Oklahoma, which defines what manslaughter is and what the Oklahoma Uniform Jury Instructions say that standard is. I encourage you as members of the media to review that and apply that in your news stories. But as I stated, Officer Crutcher is presumed innocent under the law until a judge or a jury determines otherwise. Now, the question is going to be asked, where is she? I have had a judge review a probable cause affidavit. A warrant has been issued for her arrest. I have been in communication with an attorney who has been retained to represent her, and arrangements are being made for her surrender to the Tulsa County Sheriff's Department. Those matters will be addressed by the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office in their due course. I'm not going to answer any questions. Thank you for your attendance.
All right, so there's a little bit more of the reporters talking in the background at the end of that, but I thought it would be a good point to just kind of end it there with just kind of the raw footage of the little bit of a clip of the press conference. Now, when we get back, we're actually going to talk about this a little bit, and I'm going to give you guys my perspective on it and what I think is going to wind up happening. But at this point, we really do need to take a break and pay some bills, so we'll be right back here in just a couple seconds.
I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what you think I...
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is Jenn and Rick, and we're into the second half of the show. Now, before we went to break, we did play a bit of the press conference from Tulsa. Just a few things about this one. This is probably one of the first times that I've seen an incident like this where I'm really questioning the actions of the officer. And that's hard for me to say because a lot of you know my background. I'm not going to go into it tonight, but suffice it to say I've been around badges and guns for a long time, both in the public sector and in the private sector. So, I mean, the thing with it is, the more I look at what little bit you can see, the more I don't understand how this situation got to the point where it did get. I mean, I understand that this was someone who was convicted of a crime, but from all accounts, he hadn't really had too much trouble again since he'd gotten out. There's no indication anywhere, although I've seen people try to say that they knew he had a gun. There have been no indications in any of the little bit of footages that I've been able to see here and there that he had a gun. And I think that's why the Tulsa DA was so quick to bring charges, because they couldn't find anything to substantiate the fact that this person was behaving in a way that deserved them to be shot down. And look, this is coming from somebody who's had the training. This is coming from somebody who's had to, at times in his life, decide, am I going to pull a weapon in this situation and run the risk of either me or the other person not going home? I've been in those situations. I understand that, and a lot of people don't, because you hear the things and you see all the social media people and they're, well, why didn't she shoot him in the leg? Or I even saw one during one of these last ones, like 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was, where the dude was like, well, why didn't the cop just shoot the gun out of his hand? What do you guys think these people are Wyatt Earp? Look, they train for these things. That's how they do what they do. It's not because they've dreamed of being Billy the Kid and practiced trick shots their entire life. It's because they've had training. And what a lot of people that have never had that type of training don't take into account is when you react to a situation, 9 times out of 10, when you're reacting, at that point you are still thinking, but a lot of it is muscle memory. At that point, your adrenaline is pumping. Everything literally seems like it's moving in slow motion, and you're running through about 1 million different scenarios in your head in about the 10th of a second that you have to decide whether or not you're going to pull the trigger. And when you pull the trigger, it's not even really a conscious thought at that point. It's muscle memory. It's training. So for all that, well, I don't know why if they're just being like, if they're coming at you and they've got a gun or they've got a knife, why don't you just shoot them in the leg? Because we're not trained to shoot people in the leg. We're trained to shoot 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. So when you pull your weapon and you fire because you've trained at it with paper targets for hours upon hours upon hours and hundreds of rounds, when you pull the trigger, that's the pattern you typically fire in. I haven't been active duty in either private security or any other facet of that type of career path for nearly 10 years. And when I go to the range, the first thing I do is the same thing I always used to do. Get the target set up, get my gun ready, make sure I've got my lanes clear, and when I start shooting, I draw from my hip just like I always used to do, and before I even think about it, I've put 2 to the chest, 1 to the head and the target, and I repeat the pattern until the clip is empty, because that's what I was trained to do. So look, I understand that this Tulsa situation is bad. I understand that we're probably not going to know the whole story for a while, but the fact that the DA reacted that quickly tells me one of two things. He was either trying to keep a North Carolina situation from happening in Tulsa, or he knows that this one went sideways. And I'll be the first one to tell you that there are bad people in every single profession. We need to improve the law enforcement training to make sure that we're weeding out the ones that can't handle the pressure or don't have the mindset to have the type of stress that these people deal with every day. But the flip side of the coin is we have an issue in North Carolina where we know the guy had a gun, where all he simply had to do was put down the gun and he chose not to, and he was killed because of it, and now people are losing their livelihoods. We've had civilians that have been killed. We've had reporters that have almost been maimed. We've had people pulled out of their cars and beaten. So where is the rule of law there? You kept hearing the Tulsa DA talk about we are a society who has to abide by the rule of law. The same is true for these protesters. There is a rule of law. So when are we going to enforce that rule of law and put the public safety and public concern above these angry people? That's the part of this that I don't understand. And no, I've never been anyone to call for martial law. And I'm not saying that the federal government needs to step in and put boots on the ground. But we need to stop telling the police officers to stand back at parade rest and watch all this crap happen.
Right. You and I both know that there is more that they could do. There are plans in place. There's training in place to be able to more adequately control something like this. And, you know, we're not talking about just being obnoxious and like throwing trash around. Talking about actual property destruction, actually physically harming people. It's out of control. And to not allow your policemen to do their jobs is, like you said, I mean, that jeopardizes the safety of others, including those that are there that, you know, want to protest, but are not actively engaged in the violent aspect of it. You know, they're there to protect them too. And not allowing them to do so is just asking for more trouble.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up, that the cops are there to protect the actual peaceful protesters too, because there was another story that you linked me right before we went on here about a gentleman who was part of the Hugs Project who was actually going out to the North Carolina police officers, actually working the lines there and giving them hugs, and the crowd was less than enthusiastic, if memory serves.
Yeah, so he comes and he says, so there's this thing called Free Hugs Project, and you can find them on Facebook. And this is Nanwadiki Jr., and he has gone to a lot of these protests and areas of unrest around the country. He also just goes to big events. You know, he goes to for example, it seemed like I think I saw that he has gone to like New Year's in New York City, or like just places where there's going to be a lot of people, where there could be some tension, where it's just a lot, like big crowds, you know, things happen. And so he's there to spread love and peace. He was just completely berated. He was called, the N-word. He was called all sorts of names. He was screamed at. People were yelling at him. And, you know, he made a really good point. I mean, he put his hand on the shoulder of an officer that's unfortunately in riot gear and says, you know, this officer's uniform doesn't make him a killer or a robot, just like how your skin color, and he pointed at the guy, doesn't make you a criminal. You know, we're all human. And that's been getting lost. And he saw trouble all night wherever he went. However, he was able to get some people to join him. And also, he was able to diffuse some situations where they said there are some people that might have been arrested, but he talked them down. And I just think it's just sad that this is and you know, he is African American. He's a black man, and he said, I'm not on either side. I'm not here to say cops are bad. I'm not here to say Black Lives Matter is bad. There are no sides here. I'm for love and peace. And this is the main problem, that we can't, you know, look at each other as humans, and no one's more right or wrong than the other. We're all wrong, and we need to see each other as humans. And, I just thought it was so interesting that, first of all, the extremely negative reaction he got that was just really abhorrent. But then also that I just happened to come across this story. And when I Googled, I couldn't really find it very many other places, though this link did have a video of him. So it's not just anecdotal. But, these are the kinds of things, these are the kinds of people that need to be leaders in these communities, that need to be, speaking and getting media coverage, that want to help heal, that want to bridge the gap between law enforcement, the Black community, or just in any way where there's unrest or there's disagreement, that there are people out there like this that truly do believe this.
And we seem to be losing her internet connection again.
Really? Goodness gracious.
You're back again.
Oh my gosh. This is so silly. Anyways, I'm just saying, these are the kinds of stories, these are the kinds of people that should be highlighted, that we should be accepting, and instead he was receiving all sorts of backlash from the people that should be, happy for him, cheering him on and embracing him.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you bring that up, though, because isn't he doing the very thing that these people are saying they want, which is, bridging gaps, getting acceptance, making people understand that just because our skin color is different, we're all the same. I mean, isn't this dude, do we have to go back to, do you remember the Saturday morning special? What were those? Not Saturday morning. It was the after school specials, where they would always tackle the weird social issues of the day, or they would have the ones about drugs, or we're all the same color on the inside. Do we need to start playing those kind of things on TV again? Have we really regressed so far that we need to go back to the tactics that seemed to work in the 70s and the 80s? Because I'm not sure how we got back here. Because we had put all of this to bed a long time ago. At least we thought we did. And now we're back here in what should be the golden age, because for the first time ever, and the funny thing is, no matter who you talk to, he's not actually African American, because a lot of the white people don't accept him as African American, neither do the Black people. But we have an African American president for the first time ever. This was supposed to be the epitome of race relations, and instead it's become the complete digression of race relations. And I don't understand that. I mean, speaking of that, where has he been throughout these incidents? He's usually, and trust me, I'm not really that mad that he's been quiet, because I'm usually the first one screaming when he comes out and says something crazy. But the fact that he's just been off playing golf is not really much like him. I'm starting to get the impression, because all he's really doing now is getting in another few rounds here and there and campaigning for Hillary. I'm really starting to think he doesn't want the job anymore, and hasn't for quite a while.
Well, he might be phoning it in a little bit here at the end, but, I do think that he's had some real opportunities to be not only, the leader for this country, but to be the leader promote a narrative or he's chosen to scout on things before all the facts are in. Which is always especially with how violent these last nights have been, which really they have been. I mean, it's been the officers that have been injured. That's crazy. That so much more than like a week in Ferguson. You know, I mean, this is off again.
You've been kind of cutting in and out again. It's
I just couldn't hear you either.
It's like anytime you start trying to talk for more than 2 minutes, it just decides you're done.
Oh, this is so frustrating. Well, whatever. I don't know what to do then.
Well, I mean, we're almost done now anyway.
I don't know where I got lost.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were fading in and out there pretty good after it. Like I said, it usually gives you about 2-3 minutes. It gives you just about enough time where you start building your usual head of steam, and then the rug gets pulled right out from under you, and all we hear is, ooh, and I'm like, what? Fun times, fun times.
Obama's had some real missed opportunities, and, because he's respected by both sides, by and large, not by us necessarily, but by and large, and he... really could have made a difference and could have been a leader, but I don't think at the...
And right on cue, there she goes again. Are you sure that somebody hasn't changed the setting at your house? Because it seems to be happening around the same time every time. It's about 55 seconds in, you're just gone.
This point, Matt.
I don't think she can hear me anymore.
What he...
Nope, she can't hear me.
Really? Dang it.
Really?
Well, I don't know. All my stuff shows good. Shows we're all good.
I'm starting to think somebody's put a governor on your Skype that's like, okay, we're only going to let her talk for 55 seconds and then it's done.
Rick, did you actually do that? It was you.
Well, you see, there's this little backdoor hack that... Never mind. Well, trust me, if I had been the one to do it, I'd already be figuring out how to turn it off, because this would have been one of the nights I would have preferred them to be able to hear you more, because my voice keeps trying to go out on me.
I know, I hear that.
I guess that's what happens when you talk for 8 hours a day and do about 20 hours of radio a week. Eventually your voice just says, you know what, you're taking a night off whether you want to or not. And I think she's gone again.
Oh.
It may be a combination between the two of us, because something is all of a sudden messing with my latency too. So I guess it's a good thing we were about at the end of the show anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I just have no idea. I couldn't tell you what is happening. I don't have any indication over here that there's any problems.
Well, neither do I, except just every so often my latency will get up in the triple digits, and then you'll be gone for about 30 seconds, and then my latency looks normal, and then you just never really fully come back. So I'm guessing there just must be something going on in the lines between your place and mine tonight. I mean, it does happen every so often, but it's not usually this bad.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had it this bad.
Well, we have once.
Oh, well, when I tried to dial in from the, from right across from the tallest speaking call. Just when I was in the mountains.
Yeah, well, honestly, that's kind of what it reminds me of, but a little more steady. Or did you sneak off and not tell anybody again? Is that what's going on?
No, can't say I did.
I'm currently in an undisclosed location, which is why I'm not telling anyone that I'm not where I said I was.
Believe me, I would tell you. If I was on an awesome vacation again, I would tell you.
So, speaking of undisclosed locations, since we're about out of time and nothing else is really working out, not sure what type of TV you watch or if you even have time for it, but I watched a show that I'm kind of intrigued by last night. It's The Designated Survivor. I've always been a Kiefer Sutherland fan, even though I know he's a raging liberal, so don't ruin that for me because I'm already aware. And you're gone again.
Me too.
Oh, I can almost hear you again. Almost. I really wish this thing had some sort of a setting in it where you could like crank something up when it wasn't working right.
Well, I recorded the show. I haven't watched it yet.
Nice. Okay, well, I wasn't going to go into too much detail anyway, but I was just going to say I was actually really intrigued by it. I think it's an interesting role for him because he's usually the go-getter action guy, and he's really kind of not doing that in this one, so it's been interesting.
I really have.
Yeah, there's something going on because I just flipped over to the little check system stuff, and it says the microphone connection's good, speaker connections are great, no webcam, so it's confused there. And then it says your computer speed is fast, you should be doing really, really well. And then it says the connection speed between you two is unknown.
No.
So I have a feeling my hamsters are just being a little extra cranky tonight. And at this point, we are pretty much out of time anyway. So let's hope they can hear you. So why don't you do what you normally do and remind folks where they can interact with you when you're not on the radio with me. Or not. Okay, so she is J.R. Homestead on Twitter. She also works on a blog called Misfit Politics. I do recommend that you go check that out. At this point, folks, we're going to get out of here before the hamsters shut down on me altogether because now I've got oranges all over my board, which is new. I don't usually get those in so many places all at the same time. So I think my internet connection is just giving me fits tonight, and it's just now starting to manifest itself. So we're going to get out of here. We're going to make way for the Rhino Report coming up here next. Since we did have a technical issue, unfortunately, you're going to have to sit through some commercials so we can make sure that the new show gets picked up in time. But this has been Jenn and Rick, and based on what my computer's doing right now, I will probably be putting up a replay for America Off the Rails tomorrow because I'm not going to fight through all the craziness. So I'll be back with you live tomorrow night for Robinson and Wright, provided my internet connection has returned to normal. Have a great night, folks. Take care. God bless. We're out.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.